All right, here we go, guys. The map is Daybreak, spawning over here in the top right spawning location as the Red Zerg representing Team Empire at the Gigabyte Esports LAN. The series is currently tied up 1-1. Will he be able to take game 3? Give it up for Violet. And his opponent looking to upset the person who was arguably the favorite to win the tournament going into it. Will he be able to do it? Taking a convincing macro win there on Cloud Kingdom. Can he do it 2 games in a row? From Team MVP in Korea, it is Monster.
All right, so now both players completely mirrored so far. We're going to have to see if either one of them decides to go for that double metagame and go for another early aggression build. But this is, again, Daybreak.
Daybreak is known, of course, in the GSL as the map of awesome games, and it is for a good reason. The rush distance on this map is deceptively long because there are destructible rocks here in the middle of the map, of course. You do not typically see those rocks broken until later on in the game where one player, or potentially both, feel that they can constantly stream units to the other side of the map, and therefore they knock down those rocks because they have a much shorter resupply route. If you knock down these rocks too early, though, there's a chance that if your initial aggression gets stomped out, your opponent will be able to counterattack and use that shorter attack route just to get to your base that much faster. So you need to really be sure of your timing when you knock down those rocks in the middle of the map. That is the unique feature here. We'll have to wait and see which of these players is going to blink first. We do have a pool first coming out from Violet and a pool first as well from MVPMonster.
Yep, so it looks like both of our Zerg players are going to open the semi-safe 14 pool. But we're going to actually have to see whether we go for a follow-up gas or immediately for the hatchery. Looks like we do have a drone coming down for Violet. Looks like he's definitely saved up the money. And both players are going to be throwing down the hatchery at the natural.
These guys so meta game, they mirror each other's builds game after game after game. Dual 10 pulls previously, and we do have now pool going into hatch from both players here on Daybreak. The first gas, though, is being taken from... Oh, I did see a first gas there. There we go. Being taken from Monster in the bottom half of the map much earlier than for Violet. So it'll be interesting to see if he's going to be using this for earlier speed and then transitioning into more tech, whether he's going to be going for a fast Roach Warren or a Baneling Nest, something similar, or he might even go for a quick layer, depending on what he sees from Violet. We'll have to wait and see. Just a little bit more flexibility here with the build from our MVP player.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I'm actually waiting to see some of these players actually utilize the Spire tech that we've been seeing more and more in pretty much all the recent tournaments. But right now we do have Queens popping up for both players. And we're going to have to wait and see once we get beyond that first metabolic boost upgrade where they decide to put their gas.
We should be seeing, and it's all going to come down to how many drones they leave on gas as well. We see a lot of players, for example, leave one drone mining gas so they can get as many minerals out for Zerglings while they get their Baneling Nest and go for a Ling-Baneling composition, which of course used to be basically the standard in all ZvZ metagame, as Metabolic Boost is going to be starting here for Monster. Violet will be at 100 shortly, but recently we've seen a little bit more of a difference of opinion. People have been trying out different tech routes. We've been seeing transitions into Roaches a little bit earlier than we used to. We've been seeing Lair, and as you mentioned, Thundertoss, a little bit more of that Spire tech in this composition as well. So we'll wait and see what these guys end up choosing this particular game. Metabolic Boost has gone down now for both players. Violet has left 3 on gas, and Monster has also left 3 on gas. So we're going to be seeing a fairly tech-intensive middle game here.
And these guys are just so evenly matched, kind of thinking the exact same things. But here we go. Monster getting that nice Baneling Nest up. But Violet already with that Spine Crawler down to the front, so both players right now, no real tells as to who wants to be super aggressive. And again, that gas is really going to come into play once we get into that mid-game. We see the Evolution Chamber going down at the front here for Violet, wanting to play and get that wall up at the front.
He could be going possibly for Roach Warren after the Evolution Chamber, but if he skips Banelings entirely, he runs the risk of Monster possibly coming in with Ling Bane and wreaking havoc in the natural expansion. He's going to have to be very careful here and also get a really good Sim City together, and I like the decision to get that second Spine Crawler as well. He hasn't gotten his Baneling Nest up yet, and of course he knows this, so he just wants to be extra prepared against any potential aggression from the other side of the map.
Yep, producing 10 Lings now, but he's also mining a second gas here at his natural, and that's going to be incredibly interesting. Does also start the +1 Carapace, but we see a lot of Lings here coming out from Monster.
A few Lings at the top of the ramp for Violet as well. The Overlord sees them. Violet doing a good job of preventing these Lings from popping in. Not too much of a concave either way at the moment. Most of those Lings aren't actually engaging. Violet just doing a good job at the moment of keeping MVPMonster out of his base as long as possible. Both Spinecrawlers getting a few potshots off on those Lings, and it looks like Monster is barely going to win that battle. Fortunately, the Queen in the main base will be the decider of that. A drone or two do die, but it's only one. So Monster getting a decent scout off on the main base of Violet here, sees that he can't, there's no Baneling nest, another Spinecrawler going down in the natural, and now Violet's going to be asking Monster, well, what was your follow-up aggression? Because I'm waiting to see if this bust is coming. I don't see it yet, so what are you going to do? Because I'm just going to tech up the layer now coming down from Violet.
I'm wondering if Monster's actually going to decide to do something more interesting. We do see 20 Lings coming out. Not sure if it's as a response to the Lings at the front he's seeing from Violet, or the fact that he did not see a Baneling nest from his opponent. He also was able to click on the gas in the main, I presume, and see that Violet was still mining that. We do see some additional gas coming down for Violet, who's now retreating with those Lings, knowing that he can actually beat those units. And also seeing the Ling production, he's going to throw down a very, very late Baneling nest.
This is quite telling here as well. We have the +1 missile attacks coming down in advance for Monster. Note that I don't see a Roach Warren out on the map for him at the moment, as he takes his third base, by the way, as well. And in the meantime, Violet, oh, we do see a potential hole in the wall here. Some Lings actually going to be doing some damage to Violet, but 2-3 now. Spinecrawlers hitting away at those Lings, and once again, a complete scout off into the main, but Monster only surviving with about 5 Lings there, so not going to be able to do too much. He does see, though, that the layer is now complete for Violet, and Monster going to be Violet starting the infestation pit immediately as the layer finishes.
Yep, and looks like Monster is, in the meantime, getting a third base down. It's about halfway done, but just a little bit faster than Violet, who's also going for that. And looks like Monster is going to be committing 2 Roaches, as we do see him throwing down the Roach Horn, but Violet also getting his own Roach Horn. So it should be pretty evenly matched.
Well, that's one thing I like about the +1 Carapace coming out from Violet. He picked +1 Carapace before deciding whether he was going to go +1 melee attacks or +1 missile attacks, and that, of course, applies to both Lings and Roaches. So it's a little bit more flexible in terms of what you want to be transitioning into later on in the game. Pathogen Glands now coming out from Violet as well, and a big round of drones coming in from Monster. The current working count, by the way, is 59-57 in Violet's favor, but Monster about to have 6 drones pop, so both of these players going to be macroing up, and we will see a minimum of 3 base macro game here as the Roach Warren completes for Empire.viOLet.
Oh, nice little Banelings here from Violet, but not getting too much done. We also have Banelings reinforcing here from Monster, trying to apply a little bit of pressure to this third base coming up for Violet over here at the 3 o'clock. And now Banelings trading for Banelings with a little bit of a Baneling advantage. Oh, but 3 for 2 trade there by Violet, nullifying that aggression. And it looks like they're both just going to trade Lings here, and he is going to keep that third hatchery alive.
Yeah, it's important to note, by the way, that Monster is actually about 10 supply ahead of his opponent at the moment. 100 to 86 supply as it currently stands. He is ahead only by a couple of workers, but his army supply is much larger. He has been producing Lings and Banelings to try and ward off any sort of aggression coming out of here from Empire.viOLet. Most of these units have been traded in the middle of the map or outside a base as opposed to inside a base itself. That's why the workers kill tab is still only 1-0. But generally speaking, both players just prodding at each other an awful lot in this game, waiting to see if there's a weakness anywhere where they can exploit and destroy a large number of workers, or maybe catch a large chunk of the army out of position.
Up and right now, Violet did spot out the Roach numbers from Monster as they did repel the attack in the natural. But right now, 2 Banelings trying to go for the mineral line at the third, not going to do too much. Lurlings in the main, though, do take down the Queen, and that is going to be very, very nice in terms of reducing the production of Monster.
That's exactly what Violet needed to do. That was one of the chinks in the armor we were talking about here, guys. 4 workers killed for Violet, up from 0, and importantly, getting rid of that Queen as well, so you're going to be missing a couple of inject cycles. Monster will have a couple fewer larvae to work with, and look at this. We have Infestors, we have +2 missile attacks coming out from Monster, we have Burrow Pathogen Glands about to complete as well. Carapace level 1, he is researching more or less everything at once at this point in the game, but of course, 2-0 upgrades already complete for Empire.viOLet. That too, of course, being the ground Carapace he was researching earlier, and we have +2 melee attacks on those Zerglings as well.
Yep, and we did see a small amount of Roach aggression over here, forcing a couple extra fungals here from Violet, but right now, Monster still with a pretty decent supply lead, 131 to 125, actually holding his opponent Zelnag Watchtower with his +1 Roaches.
That's a really good job there, actually, holding that watchtower, making sure he continues to take that map position. If we take a quick look, we actually have a Queen almost killing off an Overlord here near the third base of MVPMonster, doing his best to try and restrict the vision of Violet, but Violet going to be taking back the Xel'Naga watchtower on his half of the map with a huge number of roaches, just dispelling everything that Monster had to offer. And once again, we have a little bit of a split map situation as a lot of Overlords actually sneaking towards the bottom of the map here. I wonder what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't see any Overlord upgrades just yet, but right now Violet is going for Hive. He's going to have some incredibly strong Zerglings, but Monster taking his base in the center, so going to be up to 4 hatcheries right now. And right now, both players just trying to crank out those upgrades. Missile attacks level 2 about to finish for Monster, but right now just a lot of links in production for Violet, as he is also going to grab that 4th hatchery in the center.
Monster is going to be able to use a lot more larvae very shortly. That 4th hatchery in the center, as you mentioned, Thundertoss is going to complete in just a moment, and the macro hatch just completed in his main base as well. It looks like Violet is also going to be taking that hatch in the middle of the map, and now we see that group of Overlords once again moving out, but this time towards the southeast of the map, perhaps just wanting to get them out of harm's way. Should anything decide to come in and try and snipe them. I can't be 100% sure at this point. We'll find out later on in the game. But an Ultralisk Cavern is now out as soon as the Hive was done for Violet. So this is a very quick Ultralisk tech switch. By about the 16-minute mark, Ultras will be in production, and they could be on the field as early as 17 minutes.
And that's going to really change the tide of the battle. We also see a lot of Spine Crawlers being queued up by Violet. He wants to survive this transition into Ultras and buy himself the time to really get that nice compositional counter to the Roach forces from Monster. Right now, looking at the units tab, we have 5 Infestors out for Violet, 7 out for Monster. Monster up at 188 supply compared to the 184, but Violet starting to add on all those important upgrades like the chitinous plating, like the melee attacks level 3 and the carapace level 3, and 5-3 ultras are just so incredibly powerful.
They are indeed. Groove Spines and pneumatized carapace coming out from MVPMonster, but don't forget, guys, we have Infestors in play in this particular matchup, and when Infestors are coupled with Ultralisks, things really start getting bad. Once those units are held in place, those Ultras able to do so much splash damage with their attack, and the Carapace as well is going to allow them, with the chitinous plating, to absorb a lot of that damage dealt by the Hydralisk. So Violet might be in a good position here, provided he can get a good engagement with a bunch of Infestors. And Overseer is coming into the main base and sees the Ultralisk Cavern now.
Violet sacrificing a little bit of supply, doing a little bit of Zergling harassment. But that's not going to do too much. Did force out a couple fungals, which is a little bit important. But right now we do see Monster adding on, it looks like 7 Hydras. But in the meantime, we do have 7 Ultras out for Violet as he's looking to get a little bit more aggressive here. But who's the favorite? Oh my goodness. Nice fungals going down on both sides. Who's going to have the better engagements here? Everything is a sea of green as fungals going down on everything at the moment. The Ultra is not doing as much damage as it could, being blocked partially by that geyser. But oh my goodness, look at that last couple of attacks. All of those roaches falling, but both players trading very, very evenly here as they are now about 180 supply or so.
That's right, that gas geyser really came to MVPMonster's aid there, using the geography of the map, moving his units, his ranged units of course, back behind there, forcing Violet to have a suboptimal engagement. But those Ultras are so expensive, Thundertoss, so I suspect Monster would be fairly happy with that. Even though he lost his army, they traded fairly evenly, as you mentioned, and the supply is now back up to 192 to 195. The worker supply, though, is 87-67 in favor of Violet, which means Monster has a higher army supply, and that could prove to be crucial as he moves towards the 4th base location, just to make sure nothing's there, burrowing a Zergling for good measure as well. And now going to be heading into the center. Here we go.
Look at that concave being set up by Monster, but is it enough? That is a lot of Ultras.
Where are the Infestors?
I do not know where Monster's Ultras are.
They've been fungled. The Infestors actually die in the fungals there, and a huge win for Violet out here in the middle of the map, fungling the Infestors from Monster. He had no response to that. He is now up by 65 supply. Violet with a beautiful engagement using those Ultralisks.
And not only that, we did see Lynx over here at the top left take down one of the extra hatcheries that Monster was trying to throw down, and now Violet stomping through the center, wants to be able to engage this 4th base. Now we have the Infestors coming out for Monster, but they're not slowing down the Ultras at all. But the Ultras don't actually have any reinforcements. We see them caught over here on the edge of the map, but it doesn't matter. GG!
Wow, Empire.viOLet now going to be taking a 2-1 lead over Monster, and exactly like we were saying in that game, Thundertoss, once you get those Ultras on the field and you have fungal growth as well, fixing those units in place really allows them to absorb that splash damage, and that one engagement in the bottom of the map was all Violet needed to turn that into momentum in that late game there, winning with his Ultralist tech switch.
Yeah, that was just a 70 supply drop there by Monster. Violet, very, very nice positioning there, able to get his Infestors doing the right amount of damage, and you know, Monster just didn't have a response after losing those units. And let's see, what is the next map? It is going to be Antigua Shipyard.
Excellent. So we have Antigua Shipyard coming up as game number 3, guys. Don't go anywhere. More StarCraft 2 action back here on main stage with JoRoSaR and Thundertoss in just a moment.